P01. Oh,
Yeah, seems like a new.
yeah, that's popped up on my screen.
Okay, so when you draw the graph of Raoult's law, this is what it looks like. So you can draw the graph of vapor pressure with respect to either of the components. Okay, so depending on whichever component it is, it kind of looks something like this, right? So partial pressure on the y-axis and mole fraction on the x-axis. Let's say this is P1, this is P2, this is P1 naught when you have component 1, purely component 1 and none of component 2. And let's say this is P2 naught when you have purely component 2 and none of component 1. And basically, according to Raoult's law, the graph, as the composition of each of the components varies, this is what the total pressure is going to look like, right? P1 plus P2. Okay. Now, this is in an ideal case when you mix two liquids, when you form a solution of two liquids, ideally what happens in solutions is like one of the components gets in between the particles of the other component. So that's what happens in any solution, be it solid, liquid, gas, whichever. It's a physical mixture. It occupies the thing between this thing. Okay. Now, sometimes like that is not always the case. So for example, when you mix alcohol plus water, H2O plus C2H5OH. Okay. Now there's lone pair of electrons on oxygen in both the cases. So there is definitely going to be a bit of hydrogen bonding, which means that the solute particles are not like, yeah, they're getting in between the solvent particles, but it's not just occupying the space between them. It's not just the van der Waals forces between them. There's additional hydrogen bonding between the solute and the solvent. So there's some sort of association between them. So when that happens, will the vapor pressure of either of these two liquids be affected or unaffected? What do you think will happen to the vapor pressure?
Miss, I do not understand the question.
So when I mix two liquids that are very clearly interacting with each other, like for example, in the case of water and alcohol, there is hydrogen bonding possible between them because of electronegativity, because of polarity. So when the solute and the solvent particles are interacting with each other, when they are forming hydrogen bonds with each other, do you think that's going to affect the vapor pressure of?
Ma'am, I think the vapor pressure will decrease.
And why is that so? Why do you think that?
Because okay, so if I'm taking ethanol as my solvent, and if I'm adding water to it, or water, vice versa,
Yeah.
once the intermolecular forces are like they come into picture, hydrogen bonding takes place. The AB, as in ethanol and the solute solvent interaction and the intermolecular force is greater than the individual intermolecular forces. Hence,
Correct.
the vapor pressure is bound to decrease in such a case.
Yes. So what is happening is, like, okay, for vapor pressure, you need the particles to be able to get into the vapor phase. But when you have more molecules bonding and holding on to these molecules, less of them will get into the vapor phase. Right? That's what is happening when there's interaction, when there's bonding happening between the solute and the solvent. It's not just the initial like cohesive forces, but also the other substance is also holding on to the solute or the solvent, them into getting into vapor phase, which is why, yes, vapor pressure decreases. And this vapor pressure is decreasing only for this mixture, only when you're like mixing both the solute and the solvent. So in this kind of a case, when solute and solvent are interacting, the overall is not going to be a straight line. It's not going to be outright sum of the partial pressures of both, but it's going to be slightly lower. It's going to be something like this. Yeah. And this is basically deviating from Raoult's law. It's no longer a straight line. Whatever equation you had in Raoult's law is not applicable to this. And whenever this deviation is taking place, the solutions that don't obey Raoult's law are called non-ideal solutions. Okay. So when we're talking about ideal and non-ideal solutions, that is the clear-cut demarcation. So if they obey Raoult's law, so they are ideal solutions. And if they do not obey Raoult's law, they are non-ideal solutions. Okay.
Oh, ma'am, I had a question. Okay, no, you go ahead after you finish ideal, non-ideal. I'll ask.
Okay. Here. All right. Clear about ideal and non-ideal? Like, why do non-ideal solutions exist? Like, why is there a demarcation? You guys clear about that?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Dhriti, Ansh, Shantanu? Yes, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, do not obey Raoult's law can happen two ways. One way is the one that I explored, Abhi, is when the overall vapor pressure is less than your individual, like less than the sum of the individual vapor pressures. Now, it can also deviate by going over the Raoult's law wala line. So depending on whether it's going over or under, depending on which case it is, you have two types of non-ideal solutions. So basically it depends, like if they do not obey Raoult's law, they're not following Raoult's law, they're deviating. So those solutions can have a positive deviation, or they can have a negative deviation. So positive deviation from Raoult's law, matlab the overall vapor pressure is more than what is expected, and negative deviation is basically the overall is like less than what is expected. Yeah. Oh, another important point about ideal and non-ideal solutions is, in the case of ideal solutions, when you mix the solutions, there are two criteria that are to be followed. So one is, yeah, like solutions that obey Raoult's law. How do you detect whether a solution is obeying Raoult's law or not obeying Raoult's law is two cases, like two other quantities that you can figure it out by. So the delta H of the mixture should be equal to 0. So if there's no bonding as such, if there's no interaction taking place, it is completely a purely physical mixture of both the substances. So there should not be any energy changes. So you should not have any increase or decrease in energy. So delta H should be equal to 0. And delta V of the mixture also will be equal to 0. So if you're adding 100 ml of water plus 100 ml of alcohol, the total volume should be equal to 200 ml if they form an ideal solution. If they are not forming an ideal solution, if it's a non-ideal solution, then the overall volume will either increase or decrease depending on how the interaction is there.
So, ma'am, yes, I get the delta H mixing is
Hmm.
0. That is neither energy is absorbed or given out.
Yeah.
But in volume, can you repeat your example?
Yeah, so delta V mixture. So for example, if I'm mixing, say, 100 ml of water plus 100 ml of alcohol, or let's just call it like solution A and solution B for easy this thing. So if I'm mixing 100 ml of A and 100 ml of B, in the case of an ideal solution, the total volume will be equal to 200 ml. But if it happens to be a non-ideal solution, then it'll be either slightly above 200 or slightly below 200 ml.
So so basically some part is lost in the form of vapor or any other.
That
sort
is
of thing.
one way to look at it. Another way to look at it is, so if there's like bonding happening, like if there's interaction happening, then originally the two particles that are arranged, let's say at this distance, ideally, because of the interaction, they'll be slightly closer to each other. So they basically occupy lesser space, which is why the overall volume is like slightly decreasing.
Okay.
Like think of it.
Okay, so it
that
also
way.
depends.
Yeah.
Okay. Intermolecular force.
Yeah. So the interaction between the individual particles affects this thing. So formation of bonds affects the energy, and yeah, like their interaction, whether they're attracted to each other or whether they're repelling each other, that will affect the overall volume. That is the reason we specified volume of the mixture, not mass of the mixture. Mass is always
Yeah.
conserved, but
Yeah.
volume is, depends on where the atoms are occupying spaces. Okay. So yeah, so if they obey Raoult's law, so no change in energy, no change in volume. So delta H of the mixture is 0, delta V of the mixture is 0. In the case of non-ideal solutions, yeah, so it's not like a purely, you're mixing A and B and they're they're just mixing them. There is something more, something else happening in the mixture. So if they're non-ideal, they can result in either a positive deviation or a negative deviation from Raoult's law. Okay. Significance, like when it's a positive deviation, yeah, so the overall is greater than what is ideal. So even in the case of individual vapor pressures, the partial pressure of A and partial pressure of P is going to be like slightly greater than what it would have been if it was purely A or purely B. In the case of negative deviation also, it's the same thing, just that it's going in the opposite direction. Overall total vapor pressure is slightly lower than what it should have been. Even the partial vapor pressures are slightly lower than what they should have been ideally, if it was purely A or purely B, that way. Okay. So basically all the values of partial pressures and total vapor pressures are slightly greater than expected. Expected in the sense like predicted by Raoult's law. And in this case, the values are slightly lower than expected. It's not going to be like a drastic difference. It's going to be, if 200 ml was the expected volume, then overall would fall to like 196 or 197, something like that. Okay. Now, why does positive or negative deviation occur is in the case of positive deviation, if you're mixing A and B, so the solution is A plus B. So there is intermolecular interactions between A, like particles of A themselves individually. You have your van der Waals forces, and you have intermolecular interactions between the particles of BB individually, right? So in the case of positive deviation, because you're mixing A and B together, there is a new kind of interaction, AB. AB interaction is weaker than either of AA or AB interaction, BB interactions. So weaker interaction in the sense they are not.
Miss, could you like wait for a minute?
Yeah, sure.
Ma'am, I have a question.
Mm.
So I did this when I was doing it the other day, and so in ideal solutions, the thing is that AA,
Mm.
BB, and AB, all the intermolecular forces are similar in their nature. So when it says in nature, what exactly do they mean? Like they mean their energy is same, or like
Nature in the sense the magnitude of force, the direction of the force. Yeah,
okay,
the nature of the attraction, whether like, so there is a particular value of interaction between individual molecules of A and individual molecules of B, right?
Correct.
Like they have their even if AA has hydrogen bonding, if B also has hydrogen bonding, and both of their, like even AB, the level of hydrogen bonding matches AA and BB individually.
True.
So
Yeah.
technically, like if you look at it from a mathematical point of view, there's no
They have the
difference
similar
between
nature.
yeah,
Correct.
like that. But
So it's not like about energy, right? It talks in terms of intermolecular forces, their nature
Yeah.
is similar.
so they're all related. So energy, like force, obviously is related to energy, right? Like you do have a relation between force and energy, whatever the force may be. So
Yes, ma'am.
you can measure their interaction in terms of energies also, in terms of the potential energy
Okay.
between them.
Okay.
So yeah, technically the energy values also will be
Similar.
similar. Yes, very close to each other.
So basically they're like similar on like every other intermolecular aspect, and
Yeah.
now that we're saying intermolecular aspect, they'll be similar on the energy aspect as well.
Yes.
And that's why they give you an ideal vapor pressure and not more on the
Yes, correct. But if there is a difference, like in this case, if AB is weaker than individual AA or BB, weaker force means it's not holding on to the molecules as tightly as it used to. So because the magnitude of the force is less, the individual molecules are like free to get into the vapor state. So that leads to a positive deviation. So the vapor pressure values are greater.
than expected.
Yeah.
Ma'am, could you frame that sentence? Oh wait, is Dhriti back?
Let me know when you guys are ready. Like I'm guessing you guys are noting this down. That's why it's taking time.
Dhriti, you're mute.
You're muted.
You're mute.
Miss, I understood whatever you have taught as of now, but you know, like when we have to write it in an answer or like the statement, how do we, frame it?
Yeah, I'll be writing it here. So basically, so this is the answer to what causes positive deviation. Or if you're asked like, why is a mixture of so and so, like let me give an example of positive deviation. Why is a mixture of ethanol and cyclohexane, why the vapor pressure value is greater? So this is how you write it. So if the substances are specified,
AB is the solute and solvent, and AA is solute and BB is solvent, right?
correct.
So in positive deviation, the solute solvent mixture, no, the solute solvent mixture is weaker than the solute or solvent mixture.
Interaction. So the
Interaction.
yeah.
Sorry.
So I'll just write it in a different way here. So in positive deviation, AB interaction is weaker than AA or BB interactions, like individual interactions. So you can say, so it is easier for the particles to escape into vapor state. So if it is easier for them to escape into vapor state, that means like more amount of vapor than previously than individual A or individual B. That is why. So this leads to, yes, you can say this leads to an increase in overall vapor pressure. Okay, so increase in overall vapor pressure is what? Positive deviations. Okay. Yeah.
Miss, I'm sorry. Last some part you'll need to wait because my net is pathetically poor, so it got hung. So I'm just writing it. Just a second.
Yeah.
Ma'am, can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yeah, now I can. So there was a moment where everything was
Yeah,
like
yeah.
stuck for a bit, so I wasn't sure if.
Okay. Yes, ma'am, done.
Okay. And negative deviation, I will be writing in blue over the same thing because the phrasing is going to be very, very similar. The only difference is that AB interaction is stronger. So instead of weaker, in the case of negative deviation, it's going to be stronger than AA or BB interactions. So it is, instead of easier, it's more difficult for the particles to escape into the vapor state.
Individually, yeah. Okay.
So this leads to overall decrease in vapor pressure.
Miss.
Noted down.
interaction.
So, Miss, I'm sorry. I was removed from the meeting due to the net issue. So, the positive deviation is caused when AB interaction is weaker than the AA or BB interaction. Therefore, it is easier for particles to escape into vapor state, and this leads to increase in overall vapor pressure.
Correct.
And the opposite is for negative deviation.
Yes. So
Miss, just give me 2 minutes. I'll write it down.
Yeah. So in negative, stronger interaction makes it more difficult, and that leads to decrease in the overall vapor pressure.
I mean, you explained so simply and fatafat se I actually understood positive and negative deviation. In school, it was not clearly mentioned in the textbook also, and my teacher, oh my god, what she taught I did not understand.
Isn't it mentioned very clearly in the textbook?
No, it's like
I mean,
it is there in the textbook, but पूरा घुमा फिरा के बोला है.
I'll use a lot of technical terms.
Yeah. Miss, just a minute, okay?
Yes, I'm done.
You guys have something about the Van Hoff factor also, or just
Yes, Miss.
Oh,
Yep,
you have Van
yep.
Hoff. Okay.
That thing is very interesting though.
Hmm.
I spent like 5 minutes racking my brain on what it is. I didn't get it. Next, spent 10 minutes, got it. So it was sort of tricky. Ma'am, but I have is Van Hoff a correction factor or because
So-
some like yeah.
So it's correction factor in the sense only in like specific cases, when you have like ionic.
Okay.
We'll discuss that when we come to that.
Done, ma'am.
Done. Okay. Shantanu, Ansh, where are you guys at? Done. Okay. Awesome. Shantanu, what about you?
Yes.
Okay. So going to the next part. So now we'll just be comparing like basic differences between like positive deviating solutions and negative deviating solutions. So the basic cause is the interaction between this thing, stronger interaction. One side leads to positive, one side leads to negative. Because of that, you have some additional differences. This is positive deviation, this is negative deviation.
This is completely for non-ideal
Yeah.
solutions.
Yes. Ideal is pretty straightforward. It just follows Raoult's law and that's that. The case of non-ideal, yeah, you have like different cases. What if it deviates this way? What if it deviates that way?
Miss, why is life so confusing?
Well,
That's one vague question, dude.
yeah, it's also a very heavy question. That's what philosophers have been trying to.
Exactly. That's philosophy is used for answering that question. Science
No, I
can
mean,
answer the question, but
why do we
a very
have to
difficult
study
answer.
so much? I don't like studying. I'm just studying because I want to do something afterwards, something that is actually going to be interesting.
That's exactly why. Okay. So in the case of positive deviation, like the first difference is definitely the most straightforward one, what you can observe in partial pressures. Okay. So if you compare the individual vapor pressure, P1 is going to be greater than what was mentioned by Raoult's law. So this is greater than P1 naught into the mole fraction. And also P2 will be greater than P2 naught into the mole fraction. So iska counterpart in negative deviation, what do you think should be here?
P1 will be less
The
than
sign
P1
will
not
reverse.
X.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, I'm just writing it here, but when you're presenting your answer, you can like write it in sentence. The vapor pressure of
Yes, ma'am.
one component.
Too complicated. Point wise, A, B, C. This is the best way to write.
This is the best way to write to study and all that, but when you're presenting in the exams, just make it a little.
No, Fatma ma'am said that if in case you have to write, you can simply write it like this. If it's like a
Then
2 or 3 mark answer, point 1, 2, 3, 4 points, and you get
points.
your mark.
Absolutely. That's good then. Nice. Next, what do you think will be the delta H of the mixture?
For this, it will be
Sure,
for positive
greater than
deviation. I
0
think it will be
and for this
higher
will
than
be less
0,
than 0.
and yeah.
Yes. So this will be
Greater than 0, less than 0.
yes. This is going to be positive. and in this case, it's going to be endothermic negative value. And what about volume?
Same,
A mixture.
same.
Yes, ma'am.
So this is going to have a greater volume than when you add, and this is going to reduce slightly in the volume.
When it is less than 0, it is endothermic, right?
Yeah. Okay. Now, based on delta H, what do you think? How does heating this mixture affect the solubility? Heating
Because it is an endothermic reaction.
this one.
Will
No,
take
first
place
is
when it comes to
exo. First is
positive deviation.
exo.
This is exo or endo?
First is
It's
exo.
greater.
I literally just said if the H mix is less than 0, then
Yeah.
it will be endo.
Okay, sorry, my bad. I messed it up.
So in
Sorry.
this case, yeah, heating will increase solubility or decrease solubility.
Temperature is the inverse of solubility. Like solubility is equal to 1 by this, right?
So that
Because it'll
is
be positive.
specifically in the case of gases. So over here, just look
Ooh.
at delta H and then work it out.
So if here delta H is positive, then solubility should increase, right?
So heating increases solubility. And in this case, you can say that heating decreases solubility. Okay. So these are like the different, this is all the concepts related to positive deviating and negative deviating solutions. Okay. So
Ma'am, with this, ideal, non-ideal is done.
there's one more concept depending on ideal and non-ideal. So depending on the extent of deviation, depending on how much the deviation is, you get mixtures, like you get something called azeotropes or azeotropic solutions.
Ma'am, can you define azeotropes?
Yeah. So azeotropes, okay, I'll just write down the definition here. So they are binary mixtures
Miss, who gives all these names?
whoever finds out and studies it, whoever writes scientific journals.
I mean, azeotrope, there's no bloody relation. The name has no meaning. I mean, something, relatable they could have kept so that at least we can remember. Stupid people, man.
There is, like, just have to get into the etymology of azeotrope. There would be. If they're not gonna pull it out of
Stop laughing at me, Mitali. It is not funny. Serious
You know,
question,
it
man.
came to my head. It's like, ma'am, imagine a road and a footpath which is right. Dhriti is like walking the edge between focus and trying to contemplate why am I doing this. That's exactly what came to my head after.
More than that, I am so sleepy and tired right now that I can, literally fall flat. But I need to concentrate and write the notes, so I am, doing both things side by side.
Get some coffee and then like you can have a nap after the class.
Miss, in my house, I'm not allowed to sleep after 4.
Oh,
It's like, yeah, it's a rule. In the evening, you can't sleep.
okay. So back to azeotropic solutions. One, they're binary mixtures. Obviously, not any binary mixture can be an azeotrope. So the specific conditions are, one, they need to have the same composition.
दया करी 7 days of holiday. फिर दया करी.
So they need to have the same composition in liquid and vapor phase. And they need to boil at a constant temperature.
Phase का spelling is what?
PHASE phase. ठीक है.
Can you take like an example for azotopes?
I will. So once you guys are done noting down, like just
Done.
so they're also called constant boiling mixtures for this reason.
See, miss, this constant boiling mixture is a better name than azeotropic solutions. I mean, constant boiling mixtures means we know that they boil at a constant temperature. Relatable.
Yeah. So what happens is, yeah, at different compositions, you have different vapor pressure rate. You have a range of vapor pressures, right? When you mix two solutions, depending on the composition of the solution, you have something like this. You have like the vapor pressures also will change depending on what the composition is, how much of A is there, how much of B is there. Now there's going to be a point where they have the same composition in liquid and vapor phase. So at a particular composition, if you look at the vapor pressure, overall vapor pressure, like individual vapor pressure of both the components, that composition is going to be same as what is there in the liquid. So in the liquid, if it is like, for example, composition of A is 0.4 and composition of B is 0.6. Now, how much of A is there in vapor, how much of B is there in vapor phase will depend on their individual vapor phase, right? So there's going to be a particular composition where this mole fraction in liquid and the mole fraction, like the composition in vapor phase, are going to be equal. They're going to have the same value.
So ma'am, when they say composition, they specifically mean the mole fraction of the particular component.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So mole fraction, or basically the concentration, like composition is like, oh, what is it composed of? So yeah, the mole fractions are going to be equal in liquid and vapor phase. And also another significance is that at that particular temperature, pressure, and at that particular composition, it is going to boil at a constant temperature. So usually if you have different composition, like different components, you have like a solute and a solvent, they will each have their own boiling point. Like water has a specific boiling point, alcohol has a specific boiling point, and it's going to boil when it reaches the boiling point, right? But in the case of azeotropic solutions, obviously because they're deviating from Raoult's law, their vapor pressure is going to change, which in turn affects their boiling points. It is going to affect in such a way that they boil also at the same constant common temperature. Yeah. So that's why even though it's a physical mixture, because both the components are boiling together, it is not possible to separate them by boiling. Like it's not possible to separate them by distillation. Yeah. So even if you do fractional distillation, it's not possible to separate the components out. That's another importance of azeotropes. Okay. So in some situations, this is an advantage. In some situations, it is a disadvantage. Like if your express purpose is to separate the components, like if you want to do like for example, separating out components of petroleum, you don't want an azeotropic concentration for them because you want to separate them out. But if you're taking mixture
so-
as a whole,
Yeah.
yeah, like you
Yeah,
would
yeah,
want it to be a azeotrope. So yeah, go ahead, Dali.
yeah. So I was about to ask, when do we need azeotropic mixtures? When we have to separate something out of something.
No, when you want to separate things out, you don't want it to be an azeotrope.
Yeah.
because
Okay. Yeah.
components are going to come together. But
Right.
if you want to distill them together, if you don't want, like if you take a mixture of water and alcohol and you're purifying it or something, and you want to maintain their concentration, if you want to maintain the composition, you want both water and alcohol to boil and distill together, then yeah, maintain it at their azeotropic composition and they'll boil together and distill together that way. Yeah.
So ma'am, with this, I think there is minimum azeotropic boiling point. and
Yes,
maximum azeotropic
correct.
boiling
So depending
Yeah.
on whether
Finish
it's a
that.
positive deviation or a negative deviation, you're going to get minimum boiling azeotropes or maximum boiling azeotropes. Okay. So
ma'am, positive is minimum, right?
yeah. All right. So if you have a positive deviation, it's going to result in a minimum boiling azeotrope. And if you have a negative deviation, this is going to result in a maximum boiling azeotrope. Okay. So where does this minimum and maximum comes from is basically the like at a specific composition, for the total vapor pressure of the solution will be the highest, right? Like that's what positive deviation is.
Yeah.
So because you have a higher value of vapor pressure, its boiling point, like the overall boiling point, is going to be lesser. So if this is like the range of total vapor pressures with positive deviation, at like there is going to be a specific value, like over here, this is the maximum value of vapor pressure that the mixture can take for this particular composition. So at vapor pressure, like for boiling point represents the temperature at which all of the liquid is turning into vapor phase. So basically, in other words, the vapor pressure of the liquid is equal to the atmospheric pressure. So that temperature. So
Yeah.
the vapor pressure is already like high enough of the overall solution. It is not.
So you hardly need.
Yeah. So it's going to attain this particular pressure faster. Like you don't need to heat it so much. You don't need to increase the temperature by a lot. That is the reason you end up with a minimum boiling azeotrope. That's why the boiling point is going to, like you're going to have a minimum temperature at which this will start boiling. Okay, and the exact reverse is true for the maximum boiling. So when you have a negative deviation, the overall vapor pressure is lower. To get it equal to the atmospheric pressure, you need to give it a lot more heat. So this is going to have like a maximum boiling point because the overall is lower. At like the minimum vapor pressure, this is going to have, at this composition, it's going to have like an overall minimum vapor pressure. So at this composition, this particular mixture is going to have maximum boiling point. Okay?
Yes, ma'am, got it.
Correct. Cool. So clear about Raoult's law and ideal, non-ideal solutions. as well?
Question.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think in the textbook, it's given that in the case of ideal solutions, there are some examples. N-hexane, N-heptane. I think cyclohexane is also an example.
I mean,
so
it needs to
ma'am,
be solution. So like solution of cyclohexane and
yeah. So
things
it's
like
like these are naturally occurring. How am I saying naturally? It's like you don't have to do something to them to ask them to be ideal. If you get what I'm trying to say, what I'm
Yeah.
saying is making.
If you, yeah, so the nature of those substances is such that if
Yeah,
you-
is very similar.
you get-
Exactly.
yeah.
So does that mean that the criteria that we're given for ideal solutions, that means delta H of mixing is equal to 0, delta V of mixing is also equal to 0. So it's like, so their numbers must be very, very, very close to 0, right? They can't be 0 exactly, but like very, very close to 0.
I mean, it's delta H and delta V. So they represent change in
Yeah.
energy and change in volume. So yeah, they
Correct.
as well be 0 also if they're
Okay.
the ideal. Yeah.
Because like there I think it says that they're similar, so I was like, how can they be similar? Nothing can be ideal, because like I think we've studied ideal stuff before,
Ideal
and nothing is
gases,
ideal. You have to
yes,
do
yeah.
something. Yeah, you have to do something to it. You either have to lower the temperature or increase the pressure or do something like that to get them to be ideal. So like I was really
But in this case,
questioning why.
it's a solution, right? Like if you have two
Yeah.
completely non-polar things, and if they're also very close in terms of their molecular mass and the
Mhm.
shape of the molecules, such that it's practically, yeah, one can like replace the other. If that's
Correct.
the case like that, then yeah, that's perfectly ideal. Yeah, it's far easier to have ideal solutions than it is to have ideal gases.
Yeah.
That's
I think I got the difference.
yeah.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, it's 3:40.
Now
right?
we have
A couple of
colligative, right?
colligative properties, but before that, since you guys haven't really done problems related to Raoult's law and azeotropes, let's do a few questions and then we'll move on to colligative properties.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Mhm. Okay, so are you guys done finishing? Like, are you guys done noting this down? Can I move this? Okay. Ansh and Shantanu, you guys ready to do questions? You guys have been like really, really quiet this session, man.
Miss, I always thought, I didn't think it was told to us, or I'd heard, that girls are the one who stay quiet and, timid. In this class, it's only me and Mitali who do like 99% of the talking. And बेचारे दोनों लड़के हैं ना, ऐसे वो मुंह में कुछ खा के बैठे हो ना.
I've known Shantanu earlier. He's like relatively reserved. Ansh, yeah. Like, yeah, it's nice to break stereotypes, but like not in this way, guys. Like, not at the cost of. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, we'll do questions, right? Like, at least now, yeah, I'll get like answers from you guys. Be nice. So this one, vapor pressure, Raoult's law, we had done it last time, like a few questions. These are like direct formula based questions, so you revise and then. Actually, one thing I didn't discuss is examples of ideal and non-ideal. You guys like go through the textbook, just keep a set of 3 examples in each case, 3 of ideal, 3 with positive deviation, 3 with negative deviation. Like note it down. And
But I think there are only 2 given maximum in each case.
okay, then
Like I know phenol and aniline is, I think it's negative deviation.
I'll give you one more then. You guys note this down. I'll tell you.
Yes, ma'am. Can you give us all 3? Is it okay?
Yeah. One for ideal solutions, you can note down the examples. Mixture of N-hexane plus N-heptane.
Plus,
Like it's a mixture of N-hexane and N-heptane. Yeah, basically.
okay.
Next example is benzene plus toluene. And 2 more examples, mixture of bromoethane and chloroethane, or bromobenzene and chlorobenzene. Yeah, this is pretty intuitive, like hexane, heptane, 6 carbon, 7 carbon.
Yeah.
Both of them are the same isotopes, like N-hexane, N-heptane. So it's easy to figure out they would form ideal solutions. Benzene, toluene also, like it's just one methyl group ka difference. So you can see both of them are non-polar. Easy to figure out that, yeah, they'll form an ideal solution. Bromoethane, chloroethane, same composition, only difference is one bromo and one chloro. So their values in terms of, even if there is some amount of polarity, it's going to be very similar. So yeah, bromobenzene, chlorobenzene, again, it's the same thing. Okay. Now,
The non-ideal,
examples.
ideal.
Yeah, non-ideal with positive deviation, carbon disulfide and acetone, CS2 and acetone. It's one example. Then second example with positive deviation is ethanol plus cyclohexane, mixture of ethanol and cyclohexane. And third example, still on positive deviation, is acetone and benzene. And negative deviation, so chloroform, CHCl3, so chloroform plus either with acetone or with diethyl ethene. Diethyl ether, sorry. So diethyl ether is this, I'll just show the formula.
Diethyl ether.
So it's ether, so single oxygen.
Ethyl is
Di, right? DIETHYLETHER.
Yes,
C2H5, C2H5.
correct. So ethyl groups, ether is when they're bonded by a single oxygen atom.
Yes, ma'am.
This is diethyl. Second example is phenol plus aniline. Oh, both of them are heavily polar. They have hydrogen bonding. Phenol is with OH, aniline is with an amine group. And also phenol is towards the acidic side. Aniline is towards the, I think, no, amines, like primary amines are more basic. Tertiary amines are more basic, so no, never mind. But yeah, both of them are like pretty heavily polar. Third example is water plus nitric acid. mixture of H2O and HNO3.
Yes, ma'am, got it.
Okay, so three examples in each case. Okay.
Mummy, sorry.
All right, questions? Oh, question number 6. I literally just gave the answer, so you should do it. Solution of bromoethane and chloroethane. Send your answer over chat. Let me know if I should zoom in. Otherwise, yeah, question number 6. Solution of bromoethane and chloroethane obeys Raoult's law over the entire range of concentration. Is it a non-ideal solution? Has delta V mixture is not equal to 0, or all of the above? Dhriti, read the question carefully. Mitali, yes.
Yeah, sorry. Forgot, sorry.
Ansh and Shantanu, come on guys, quickly. Question number 6.
I resent the answer.
Yes, Ansh, correct. Shantanu, I just gave the examples. If you noted it down, you should get it. 2 seconds. I'll give you a hint. So solution of bromoethane, chloroethane forms an ideal, it's an ideal solution. So you can answer based on that also. Yes, absolutely. Got it. Good stuff. So yeah, good to know the examples like in case of questions like these. Similar questions again, like based more understanding of ideal, non-ideal solutions. Which of the following azeotropic solutions has boiling point less than the boiling point of its constituent molecules? So first
What
of
again?
yeah, so which of the azeotropic solution, question number 8, has boiling point less than the boiling point of its constituent molecules? So first you need to figure out if it's positive deviating or negative deviating. So if the overall boiling point is less than individual, is that a positive deviation or a negative deviation?
Positive deviation. Okay, no. Because wait, sorry.
Look, we literally just discussed this, so you can like look at your notes also and figure it out. First 2-3
Negative
questions.
deviation. Okay, no, wait. Sorry.
Yes, Dhriti, Ansh, Shantanu. So if you
There's
figure
some,
it out, you can send your answer
The
also.
boiling point.
yeah, I'm trying to figure it out. Just a second.
The boiling point is less than its constituent.
Mm.
So, ma'am, when it says constituent, that means I can just say like original boiling
Yeah.
point, right?
Correct. So step 1, figure out whether it's positive or negative deviation. And once you've figured this out, check which of these are, matching whatever you've got from here. So if you think this has to be positive deviation, then which of these is an example of positive? If you think it's supposed to be negative, then which of these is negative?
Ma'am, I've given the answer.
Yes. Dhriti also has sent in. Dhriti, yes. First part, you've got it. Based on that, Positive or negative? Okay.
No, what is the formula for acetone?
Acetone is, it's a ketone with 3. So this is acetone.
Okay. Like I wasn't sure what is acetone.
Mithali and yeah, now Ansh got it. Yes. Dhriti, check examples of. So your conclusion is correct, only the final answer is not correct. So you can just check that. So I think most of you have gotten it. Shantanu, I haven't gotten an answer from you yet.
I don't know.
What was that?
This it is the answer I sent you only.
The deviation that you sent is right. Yeah, this is positive deviation. Positive deviation azeotrope will have boiling point less. But which of these is going to give you a positive deviating solution?
C.
No, this is ethanol and acetone. Mixture of ethanol and acetone is so this
Ethanol
also
and acetone is not.
yeah, this also has polarity. So there is going to be interaction. Either they will be a ideal solution or they're going to end up with negative this thing.
I hope you haven't forgotten you have 3. Sorry.
So Shantanu, no, not exactly. So the first one is chloroform and acetone. So this was like the first example of negative deviation, chloroform plus acetone. This is negative deviation, so it can't be. We need positive deviating things. Carbon disulfide plus acetone. So that's an example of positive deviation. So this is the answer.
Positive deviation. Yeah.
So ethanol and acetone is, I think it's either ideal or negative deviation. You definitely won't get a positive deviation from that. This is aldehyde, ethanol, and carbon disulfide. I don't have the information about that yet. But yeah, the final answer for this is option B. Okay. So I'll send you guys topic practice for this whole thing. It's completely based on the concept, like at least the azeotrope related questions are, yeah, either they'll ask you in terms of interactions or they'll ask you examples, that sort of a thing. You guys can do it. So let's go to slightly higher questions. Okay, so again, like you can assume that they form ideal solutions and then you can do that in the calculation. Look at number 23. The vapor pressure of pure liquids A and B at a certain temperature are 450 and 700 mmHg respectively. Find out the composition of liquid mixture if total vapor pressure at this temperature is 600 mmHg. So if you guys are attempting it, cool. Otherwise, let me know. I'll do one problem and then leave it to you guys. Okay, it's 3:58. Can you guys do this by
4 and 4, 5. Give me time.
4:05? Try to finish it by 4:02 or 4:03 max. Because we'll do one more problem and then we'll move on to colligative properties. So you can give your, like, since everything is maintained in mmHg, no issues with the conversion also. You just have to plug the values and check.
Is the answer coming in points?
Yeah, I mean, composition is mole fraction. Mole fraction is always in decimal.
Yeah.
One more thing, your answer should be between 0 and 1. Cannot be greater than 1.
Maybe the 400k is given to confuse only. I don't see where we can use 400k.
No, you won't. So usually conceptually, all of this, like Raoult's law, is withheld, or it is satisfied as long as the temperature is a certain value. If you change the temperature, it's not going to be the same. So So if you find out either mole fraction of A or mole fraction of B, the other one you just have to subtract 1 and you'll get it. Dhriti, check your calculation. That's not right. It's not like that. You won't get that for A or B. Check it. So is that for A or is that for B?
For A.
Correct. Nice. Dhriti did it. 4:02, right on time.
Miss, I'm punctual. Very punctual.
Mitali, no, not no. Check. Ansh and Shantanu, where you guys at? Like you can complete it by now. You should get like some value by now. So Mitali, how did you start off this question?
How did I use the formula P total is equals to P naught 1 minus bracket P naught 1 minus P naught 2 mole fraction of 2.
Okay.
Then I substituted
Ansh,
the values.
no. Okay. Okay. Ansh also is not correct. So basically,
So
P total, what did you take that to be?
P total is 600
Yes,
total vapor pressure
that is equal
is
to.
equal to 450 minus
Okay. I
bracket
don't recall that formula, but an easy way to approach this
from
is also foolproof is it's basically 450 into, if I take mole fraction of A as X, be 450X plus 700 into 1 minus X. So just solve this, you'll get it straightforward.
yeah, but I
You took
used
it
a simplified version of
Yeah.
yeah.
So you took it as 450 into 1 minus X plus 700X. So you'll get the mole fraction of B from this. So if you solve this,
Yeah, and that I found 0.66.
that I think you'll get exact 0.6. Like you should get 3 by 5 ideally. So 600 equal to 450 minus 450x plus 700x. So linear equations, transpose it. 600 minus 450 is, so 150
150.
equal to 700x minus 450x is 250x. So x equal to 150 upon 250. How much is this? 5 3s are 5 5s are. So 3 by 5
Ma'am, I did a silly error. I took 450
calculation.
minus 700, 350. Yeah.
Ansh, what about
That
you?
is so
Like,
dumb.
how do you get 7? You also got 0.7. How come? Was it in this calculation only? Okay, but yeah, as long as you got this part, the initial this thing, the rest of it is just calculation. Okay. Next, we won't do 24 right now, but just want you guys to look at it. So 100 grams of liquid A, whose molar mass is 140 grams per mole, was dissolved in 1000 grams of liquid B, molar mass is given. Then the vapor pressure of pure B is 500 torr. Calculate the vapor pressure of pure liquid A and its vapor pressure in the solution if the total vapor pressure of the solution is 475 torr. So do you guys know how to approach this? Like what is given, what is asked? Yes, no? You don't have to do it right now. Just as long as you get an idea of what is given and how do you approach it, that is sufficient.
Miss, can I try?
Yeah, go ahead.
So first we calculate moles of liquid A,
Very good. Yes.
then we calculate moles of liquid B.
So that is going to give you, like, why do you calculate the number of moles?
So that we can calculate mole fraction.
Awesome. So you calculate mole fraction of A and mole fraction of B. Okay.
Then P total will be equal to PA plus PB. So PA is P naught A into mole fraction of A plus P naught B plus into mole fraction of B.
Yes.
And then you calculate, and then you get P naught A and P naught B is already given, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. So it's like substituting the things that we've been
Yeah.
already given.
Correct.
Not such a tricky question.
It's not tricky. The only thing is you have to do one extra thing of finding out the mole fraction from the
Yes.
mass that is given. That's the only difference.
But they've been generous by giving us the mole fraction.
Now I want you guys to look at number 26. A good one. At 25 degrees Celsius, the vapor pressures of benzene and toluene are this much and this much respectively. So you're given P naught benzene and P naught toluene. A solution is made by mixing 35 grams of benzene and 65 grams of toluene. So from this, you can figure out what is mole fraction of benzene and mole fraction of toluene. At what
Yeah, ma'am. After we
pressure
find
in
sorry,
torr,
I thought
yeah. So at what applied pressure in torr will this solution boil at 25 degrees Celsius?
so we need to find the total pressure,
Yes.
total vapor pressure, whatever. Okay. Yes, ma'am. So after find the mole fraction, the respective individual vapor pressures are given to us.
Yes.
So P total is equals to P naught X chi 1 plus
Raoult's
P
law.
naught chi
Yes.
2. Yeah.
The trick in this question is the solution should boil at 25 degrees Celsius. So you need to understand that at boiling point, the vapor pressure will be equal to the atmospheric pressure. Okay. So they're indirectly asking you, okay, at 25 degrees Celsius, what should be the total vapor pressure? So if you change the atmospheric pressure, so if they change the applied pressure to be equal to the vapor pressure, then that solution is going to boil at that temperature. Yeah. So that is a concept that you guys need to know. Okay. Can do. Dhriti, Ansh, Shantanu, you guys got it? Cool. So yeah, then that's it for this particular concept. So before we go ahead with, so I'll send you guys for topic practice for this thing. If you guys can complete this work by Sunday, by Saturday or Sunday, then next week, Monday, I can give questions based on the colligative properties. That's what I'm planning. Doable?
Miss, can you do like this?
That
Can
makes
you just
sense.
send both of them and give us like till Monday or till Tuesday, and we complete the entire thing and then send it to you?
Okay, that also works. I thought I'd break it up, but yeah, if you guys want that flexibility, I'll send both of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but ma'am, even if you like send it later, it'll be much more or less the same because like I'll do that till Sunday, then on Monday I'll
No,
start that.
Mitali, no, what I'm saying is because Saturday, my entire Saturday is free apart from TW. I don't have anything else. So Saturday I can, finish this homework and then finish the colligative properties wala homework also. So if
Yeah.
it's already given, then I can do it.
Yeah,
That
in
is
case you want to do both of them together, if you have like enough time for both of them, yeah, I'll send both together only. Yeah. All right. So
Oh, okay,
before we
ma'am.
get to colligative properties, yeah, take a break. We'll join back 4:15.
Miss, what 4:15? 2 minutes.
Okay, 4:20 then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Back
Right.
at 4:20. We'll continue. Okay. So coming to colligative properties. This is like a very, this is a really
Easy part, फटाफट हो जाएगा.
Yeah.
Very simple.
Yes. So colligative properties are, like, roughly speaking, the properties that only depend on the number of particles that are there in the solution. Yeah. So they don't depend on any other thing. They don't depend on, what is the nature of the particles. It only depends on the number of particles that are there in the solution. Okay. So 4 such properties we're going to talk about right now. So one is lowering of vapor pressure. Okay. So do you guys remember when you mix solid in a solvent? So when you have a non-volatile solid mixed in any solvent, then what happens to the
Vapor pressure decreases.
Yes. So vapor pressure of the solvent decreases. Do you guys remember why it decreases? We discussed this.
Yes, ma'am. If anybody else does not want to answer, I'll go ahead.
Dhriti, you want to go ahead? No? Okay. Yeah, Mitali, go ahead.
So, ma'am, that happens because when you have a non-volatile solute and you add it in a volatile solvent, the non-volatile solute does not do anything. It simply occupies a lot of space. It occupies a lot of intermolecular space as well as the space on the surface of the solution.
So it's
Previously, it was only the particles of the molecules of the solvent, but now it's solute plus solvent. So it's like
Present of the
there
solute.
is less space for the solvent to escape. So the vapor pressure is bound to decrease.
Correct. Yeah, lesser number of solvent particles can escape into vapor state, which is why the vapor pressure decreases. The next, another one we're going to talk about is...
Miss, it was not that I didn't know, I just didn't want to answer. Sorry.
Yeah, very good. The next one is elevation of boiling point. So if you had, like, if the boiling point of the solvent was a particular value, it increases by a few degrees. Elevation, increase in the boiling point. So this also is pretty intuitive. When vapor pressure of the solvent decreases, that means getting the vapor pressure equal to the atmospheric pressure, you need to give it slightly more energy. So the temperature at which that happens is slightly increased. So that results in elevation of boiling point. Similarly, freezing point is also affected. So this leads to depression of freezing point. Reduces, decreases. And you have, again, now this is exclusive to solutions only. Another property is the property of osmosis. So osmosis, you guys have come across osmosis pehle, like what is it, where does it happen, how it happens and all. So we'll discuss a little bit more. We'll go into the mathematics of this time. Okay. So these three are pretty, actually all of them are pretty easy, but especially the first three, like calculating the lowering of vapor pressure, elevation of boiling point, depression of freezing point is like quite easy, pretty straightforward. Okay. All right. So first, lowering of vapor pressure. Okay, by how much is the vapor pressure lowered? So if P naught is the original vapor pressure of the solvent, after adding the solute, like based on Raoult's law, what does the vapor pressure of the solvent be equal to? What would it be equal to?
P.
It's
Solvent or
be
solution?
less.
Oh, one moment before that. Ansh. Yeah. Let me know when you're done noting this down, Ansh. And we'll go forward.
Oh, what? Okay, here's no. Sorry.
All right. Done?
Yeah, miss. Long back.
Yeah.
That was for
Nothing.
Anshi.
Just 4. Yeah.
I'm aware.
Okay. Yeah. So if P is the vapor pressure of the solvent. Now, in this case, because our solute is a non-volatile solid, vapor pressure of the solvent will be same as the vapor pressure of the solution itself, because there's only one liquid involved there. So
So
what?
P total will be P8 plus PB.
But यहाँ पे there's no PA, PB, right? There's only PA because there's only one liquid. So what will it be equal to? The vapor pressure of the solution?
The vapor pressure of the solution will be the mole fraction of A into the total pressure.
Pressure, vapor pressure of pure A.
Yeah.
Yeah.
E not
It's
A.
basically P naught into the mole fraction of the solvent, right? So which I can write it as P naught into 1 minus the mole fraction of the solute So if I want to find specifically the lowering of vapor pressure, so lowering of vapor pressure is basically delta P. By how much has it been lowered? So delta P is equal to the P final, P total, P of the solution minus the initial, which was
Of the solvent. P
P.
not 1.
So if you plug these values, can you tell me what you get finally? Plug the values in it and then work it out.
Ma'am, is it P not 1? Sorry, wait. So delta P is equals to P not 1 bracket.
So what do you mean by P naught 1?
1 minus.
The solvent?
Oh, okay. So I made like a key where solvent is 1 and solute is 2.
Okay.
So P not 1, which is the
Solvent?
yeah, which is so I substituted P total to P not 1 into chi 1. Okay,
Yes.
minus P not 1. So then I'll take P not 1 as common. That will give me chi 1 minus 1. And then I can substitute chi 1 if I want to the given thing.
Yes.
Where it's 1 minus.
1 minus.
So should I?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
P not 1, 1 minus chi 2 minus 1. So P not 1 chi 2.
Correct. So lowering of vapor pressure is directly equal to the original vapor pressure T naught into
into the mole
fraction
fraction
of
of
the
the
solute.
solute.
So it is lowered by
I thought
this
of
much value.
Yes.
Okay, so this is how you figure out the lowering of vapor pressure. So you can see it is directly only related. So this P naught is going to be constant for a particular temperature. It depends on the nature of the solvent. So the only variable that the lowering would depend on is the concentration of the solute, which is basically the number of particles of the solute that you have in the solution. Okay, so this is how you can calculate this. Similarly, elevation of boiling point. Again, we're talking about elevation of boiling point, and this is not the final boiling point. So just be careful about that terms. So
Delta T.
elevation is, yes, by how much is it increased? This is not the final point. So delta T. Yes, Dhriti, following? Okay. So delta T is equal to, okay, this we discussed, right? So when you add a solute, the boiling point is going to increase. So delta T, let's
Yes.
call it boiling point ke liye delta TB, is, again, considering it's a colligative property, it is proportional to the concentration of the solute. So in this case, it is directly related to the molality of the solution. Okay, small m representing molality. Be careful with that.
Yes, ma'am.
So change the proportionality into a constant. You introduce one more constant. So delta TB is equal to KB into M, where KB stands for, it's a constant.
There are so many names for KB, no, ma'am?
Yeah. So it's basically
Ele-
molal.
yeah, go ahead first.
Yeah. So one is molal boiling point constant, elevation constant. This is the name that Dhriti would like the most. Straightforward. It is the molal boiling point elevation constant, or in other words, also called ebullioscopic constant.
No, that is something I should hate.
Yes. Ebullioscopic constant. Actually, for your sake, I'll actually search the etymology of this word.
So molar boiling point, elevation constant, ebullioscopic constant.
Yeah.
Any other
So
constant?
no, there's these two words, these two
Okay.
names. So ebullioscopic. So basically, it comes from Latin. So an ebullioscope is the instrument that measures the boiling point of a liquid. So the scope is basically an instrument like microscope, telescope,
And
ebullioscope. Ebullio, like this part of the word, is Latin for boiling. So that's where it comes from.
So boiling, an instrument which is used for boiling.
Yeah. So ebullioscope is the instrument which used for boiling. So ebullioscopic is like related to boiling. So
A
it's the
constant
boiling
used for the instrument which is used for boiling.
Is it,
Such a
yeah, related to the boiling point. It's a constant
yeah.
relates to the boiling point, basically.
Yeah. Then
Miss, I can't see anything. If you can scroll?
Oh,
it's visible though.
okay. Now,
No, it's not.
till what
Yeah.
possible for you?
The delta TB is proportional to molality.
Okay.
उसके बाद का नहीं दिखता.
So after that, it's delta TB is equal to KB into molality, like KB into M. And then on the right hand side of the equation, I've just written what is KB. KB is,
Yes, but now it's visible.
okay. Okay. So let me know when you're done, and then we'll go on to depression and freezing point.
Done, ma'am.
Okay. Ansh, Shantanu, what about you guys following?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. So the third is depression and freezing point.
Ma'am, I'm sorry to interrupt, but like, shouldn't we be simplifying the formula आगे delta TB is equal to KB into molality?
You
Because
can, yeah. So
in
I'll
the
come to
textbook
that
it's
later.
further
Yeah.
simplified.
So
Oh, okay. Sorry.
basically,
I
what I mean, it's the same thing. So basically, what happened is using these colligative properties, you can find out what is the molar mass of the solute. So usually you use these methods in order to find the properties of, a substance. So for example, you have isolated a substance, either by refining or, from other solution or something, and you want to analyze what it is. So one of the things you want to find out is its molar mass. So what you do is you mix it in a solvent. Usually, if it's ionic, if it's a salt, you can dissolve it and measure or you measure GDM. Otherwise, because you may know you can is mass. And what they've done is they expanded the molality. So number of
number of
divided
I'm eating something on the side.
hello.
Yeah.
I'm not.
I'll eat it after that.
have you guys. Is it not?
Yes.
Oh, okay. How's okay? How's it going now? Like, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, better than before, or just like before?
Ma'am, so far it's fine.
Hello. No.
Hear you.
Hello.
Hi.
Yes.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
can still a
Hello,
little
yes,
bit of
but-
lag. I know you're.
Yeah, I mean, my voice is
Can you yeah, not here. Guys, turn off your video now.
Yeah, ma'am. We did.
my turned
Just
on.
yeah, this lag like just happened. So,
Yes, you're using.
is the point. By much is it low? It'll by the point load is proportional to the molality smaller. Is this so?
It's not.
Ma'am.
Still,
No, ma'am.
let me share it.